Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. My name is Jordan with a silent PH in the middle, and I am joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over there at Sir Lucian Gaming. Say hello, sir.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Saturday morning. Mine has been a snowy Saturday morning. I don't know about the rest of you. I heard in Arizona was 80. I feel like I need to move there. Have 80 degrees in February sounds nice.
I don't think I want to live in Arizona.
Yeah.
There's my friends live there, and nothing. I mean, there are some very beautiful parts of Arizona, but where they live, they don't have grass, a front lawn.
It's rock
and
yards.
They just have rocks and stuff. And I'm like, I like grass. I don't know. Yeah. I need moisture. I lived in the desert for too long, and then I moved to Seattle, and I was like, it literally rains every day. People don't have sprinklers. It blew my mind that people didn't have sprinklers. I was like, what? And then you go further south and it's like, people don't have grass. We don't even want to pump water onto this land. So anyway, talking about the weather. It's fantabulous. But yeah, lots of snow. So Lucian is officially locked in. He needs to only play video games and board games now. So that's all
that is true.
He's doing.
My dream come true, really.
Yeah, you're like, I'm trapped in here for 3 months.
No.
Oh, but we've got all these RPGs to play. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just telling my wife, to be completely off track again for our D&D Saturday morning show, that I'm at the perfect spot that by the time I retire and somebody throws me in a home, that those homes should have good enough internet that I can just play games all the time from my recliner, and it's gonna be the perfect thing.
Yep. Yep. They get they get that feeding tube, and you don't have to get up. Yeah, catheter, you're fine. You're just gaming all day.
20 years before this, those homes suck, man. You don't want to be in one of them. 5-10 years from now, perfect.
Fabulous. Well, everybody, welcome. We are a Dungeons & Dragons talk show, and there's some I shouldn't say gossip, but there's some weird stuff happening with D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond definitely a huge part of the D&D community, I would say right now, because of people like Todd Kenrick, Adam Bradford and stuff, where their company partnered with Wizards of the Coast to make digital tool sets. And I know you use Roll20 a lot. We talk about that, but I solely have been playing on D&D Beyond for, I want to say, over a year now, I think. Probably because of the pandemic partially, but I bought a Chromebook, and even in person, I pop it up, and we all have our tablets and stuff, and nobody has pen and paper anymore. So
yeah, well, and I think we've finally gotten to the point where having a digital accessory help us build characters, because there's so many options now. Yeah. It makes more sense. 5 years ago, we don't have all the other subclasses. We don't have anything but what's in the player's handbook. Maybe it's not as needed. We can still make characters. Although even then, you still had a lot of sub characters you could choose from. Mm-hmm. But now with so many options that you have from so many books that are out, it just makes sense to have some type of aid that helps you go through and do the math and helps you show your options. And they had a close tie. I mean, they were at all the live events. They went to all the conventions with them. We saw those people at conventions hanging out. They always got immediate access to the big players in the community. So we saw videos with Matt Mercer, and Perkins is on their channel all the time talking about something. So they had kind of direct access to a lot of the players in the Dungeons and Dragons community. So
a lot of us YouTubers were jealous, I should say.
Super jealous, yeah.
Because Todd would, a new book would be announced, and he'd have 12 videos that he'd release in 12 days with interviews with Chris Perkins, and we're just like, we could do that? What? Why are you special? Well, it's things like
we know why you're special.
So so the news is that Adam Bradford, Lauren Oboe, I don't know how to say her last name, but Lauren, and Todd Kenrick are leaving D&D Beyond to do something else. They're very excited for whatever they're doing. I don't know, the community was kind of saying oh, this is a big shakeup in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and I've invested all this money in D&D Beyond. Am I going to lose my content because is Wizards pulling their stuff? And we're like, first of all,
I didn't read that.
I didn't read that at all. So I don't think that is happening at all. I think, and I should say officially, they said that all three of them had a very exciting opportunity that they can't talk about yet, but they couldn't say no to. So either this is a Godfather thing and they're going to find like a horse head in their bed, or it's just a really cool opportunity and they were like, I have to take this. But it was just odd that all three of them were like, we're leaving. They all posted within an hour of each other on Thursday. That Friday would be their last day and whatever. But next week, we'll probably have more information because specifically Todd Kenrick, I think, said that he's going to announce a bunch of stuff on a private YouTube channel on Monday about what he's doing in the future. So, and they seem excited. So,
yeah. And it wasn't quite clear. I think it's been assumed that maybe they're all doing the same kind of thing, but that's not necessarily confirmed. So it could be they all have different opportunities and it's not necessarily related between the three of them.
Yeah.
But it does kind of feel like maybe they have a new project that they're going to be working on, maybe a new product, maybe a new company, maybe another company's reached out to them and said, you guys did such a good job there. We want you to come and do something for us. Or, I think in the creative world, that's more common with reaching out and asking people to come and work for you than it is saying, like in corporate worlds, a lot of times some of us are signing NDAs and we're not allowed to poach, employees from other companies.
Yeah.
IBM's not allowed to go over to Google and try to start taking programmers and stuff. I don't think that works the same way in that creative space, but it sounds like they found a new thing they can go do.
So if there was a smaller, I agree, and I've been in that same situation where it's just like you are not allowed to try and ask these people to work for this thing, and it's like, oh, okay. And even I'm thinking now, the contract I signed, I'm not allowed to work for a competitor that is deemed a competitor by my company. And this came up with a friend of mine got another job, and then our old company was just like, well, they're a competitor. And he's like, no, they're not. They're not at the same field, but they were trying to keep him because he was a good employee, and the lawyers were going to stick that to him. So, but you're right, in the creative space, I don't know, with fandom owning D&D Beyond, I would think that they would probably have those catches. Especially with like Todd Kenrick being like the face of D&D Beyond, like running the YouTube channel and doing all these live chats and conversations with Jim Davis from WebDM and all this stuff. But I also think that you are right. It was probably one of these like, hey, we're starting this, and that's up to you to be like, I want to leave this and go work with my friends. And that's kind of probably what he wanted to do. So,
and another thing I was thinking too is it's probably not clear to a large part of the community that D&D Beyond is not part of Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, it's not.
And I wonder if, that's a very interesting thing, because I think for most people coming into it, you might not know that they're not even the same company and that they don't own that. So
all that intellectual property is by Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, and D&D Beyond licenses that to put it on their website. Yeah.
Right. So. And it was Curse, but then they got bought out, right? So now it's Amazon or somebody else has
No, I think Amazon owned Curse, but I think it's Fandom, and I'm not sure. But I guess we can look
Fandom is the company.
Fandom's the company that owns them now.
Yeah, because you never see a lot of branding from them on the stuff, which I think is interesting too. Like you don't see a big push. I think there's little icons here and there, but nothing big to say, hey, we're a totally separate company. And they haven't really done other products yet. I keep wondering if, they would make a deal with Pathfinder, they would make a deal with Monty Cook, or they'd make a deal with some of the other big shots.
Yeah, they might in the future. Who knows? Yeah, because it's kind of surprising because I can play all these different games on Roll20. Even
Roll20's made partnerships with all of them.
Even DCC has Goodman Games stepped in, and now you can buy a Roll20 Goodman Games pack. And so, because I was trying it out. Actually, and we should talk about this a little later, but Nate from WSD20, he put out a video about a tabletop thing that you actually would find really well. I know you like Roll20, but it's a virtual tabletop, and it's called Owlbear Rodeo, and it's completely free, and I've never heard of it, but he was talking about it, and you can like plug just a map in and really easy like run around with people, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, especially,
it's on my list to look at because I saw his video, but I hadn't gotten over that.
Yeah, you should all check that out. Nate's a really cool guy. We had lunch at Gen Con. It was fun.
We did. He was a wonderful gentleman.
He's a wonderful gentleman. Didn't buy us lunch, with him more but a really nice guy. No.
Yeah, we went and did some other stuff too, I thought.
Yeah, we hung out. Yeah, no, he's a good guy. But so that's the thing. A lot of people, I don't know. I think we might be reading into this more than we should, and I don't think your content's not going away. Todd's going to keep making videos. And Bradford's probably going to keep designing virtual tabletops and things like that. So it's like, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
The one thing I saw that Bradford said in his video that he put out, because you can go and watch it on D&D Beyond. They have videos up of them saying goodbye and stuff. He mentioned he was staying in the TTRPG space. So he said that term, which made me think, okay, well, we're still going to see him in what we do, because we're in the whole TTRPG community. We love all that stuff. So we'll see him on Twitter doing stuff, and we'll know, I'm sure, within the next week or two what the big project is, which would be cool. And I'm sure we'll cover it here. So it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bigger deal because there's not a lot of other news going on. That was kind of the big thing that hit the community, and so that was all that was really going on. I didn't see anything else from Wizards of the Coast. They didn't have any new videos out that were, they had a few here or there that they're doing their Dragon Talk stuff, but
so I mean, if you don't have anything to watch, head on over to Jordan's YouTube channel and catch some really great videos about some elder.
There's a video about elder gods or something, right? Isn't that what happened? This last one?
It's really it's whoever makes those, really awesome. I got really the funniest compliment. Somebody was like, somebody sent me a message and was like, whoever edits your videos does a really good job, and I was like, why would you think it's anybody else but me? Like, this is
because that's how YouTube works.
I was like, I don't.
Editor, Jordan.
I guess rich YouTube. I'm like poor guy staying up till midnight editing videos, not getting them done by Wednesday. I'm like, what magical world do people live in that they have editors? Yeah. That is not me.
So any video editors out there that don't have anything to do, Jordan's looking for a video editor.
I'll pay you in minis. Or something. That's probably a bad idea. Because be like, I need my brick of minis, Jordan. Not going to get that video done. Kickstarters and zines. What's going on with zines?
Yeah. So I was looking around because I thought what brought it up was Tola sent me another message. Monty Cooks told us they're about to launch in March, but they're doing some pre-order stuff if you didn't do the Kickstarter. And always at the bottom of those emails, they always mention, here's some other projects that you could go and take a look at. So I was kind of perusing through, and I found a Dungeoneering Zine that I thought you might...
you say Zine instead of Zine?
Zine is what I'm thinking.
I had no idea.
Zine Quest 3?
I always thought
what I liked about it is it immediately said this creator is from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So I hit the automatic, I'm helping this person out.
Okay.
But it did sound pretty cool. It's about Dungeoneering. It feels very OSR. They have the OSR... icon on their thing, so I knew Jordan might want to look at this and take a look at it. Should be pretty cool. So I was gonna help a local content creator out there trying to put out a game. It looks like it's a way to generate a dungeon and then a game to quickly let players run through it. And I think it's very in the OSR theme of things. So if you're into that.
So it's funded, and it's called Dungeoneering Zine Quest 3. And watching it, I literally watched it just click over to $3,000. Somebody just did it. And he said at $3,000, they're going to, one of his stretch goals is to get a professional artist to enhance the book with some more art. So that's really cool.
I sent him a message in his thing asking that I'm hoping maybe we could have him on the show as a guest, hopefully.
That'd be fun,
in the future. So I'm hoping if I can get a hold of him, because he could tell us a little bit about the Kickstarter stuff, like kind of the same questions we asked Matt Colville when he did his Kickstarter. And just see, what his interests are. And I think
Nate Whittington,
cool.
All right.
The company, Nate Whittington.
Grinning Rat.
Grinning Rat Publications, which I thought was fun.
That's cool.
So that was cool. So I saw that one, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the only other thing I saw, I was cruising through Twitter to make sure we didn't miss any last-minute news. Because, what'll happen is our show will end, and then 2 hours from now, somebody will drop some big news about the next book and and whatever. But I did notice that there's something called the Dungeon Alchemist, another mapping tool out there. This one kind of driven by kind of like the AI machine learning. And so you tell it what size you want, and then you draw a room shape, and it puts stuff in it. And you can tell it to do it again. And just like sometimes it's a table, and sometimes it's a workbench, and sometimes it's some barrels or something. And then you draw another box, and then it'll put a hallway between it, or it'll put a doorway between it. And then you can just build this cool, fun-looking, artistic dungeon very quickly and easily be able to port that out and put it in your Roll20 game or have it sit out on your table. It looked really cool. They had the picture I saw of it had it out on their table as if they printed out from a color printer. It's called Dungeon Alchemist, and I believe the website is dungeonalchemist.com. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So not sponsored, but just always finding cool stuff out there for dungeon masters to maybe add to their games or make it easier for them to do prep. Those are the couple things I saw. They're going to do a Kickstarter to kick off the whole thing on February 9th. So that sounds like that would be Tuesday, right?
Yes.
That's Tuesday.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Dungeon
keep an eye out for that
Alchemist.
one.
You're giving me all these extra links I got to put into that.
Well, I saw you put one in there, so
I did, yeah. I'm working on it. No, that's cool. Yeah, this looks really neat, actually. So, Dungeon Alchemist, yeah. Just like Owlbear Rodeo, not sponsored, but we like to share cool things that we find. I backed a Kickstarter because
you had to.
Lex from Rod of Seven Parts fame and Dank Dungeons and all the other, he's writing a tabletop RPG right now that it looks really cool. But Lex is really awesome, good friend of mine, and he sent me a Kickstarter of, he's like, you would like this, and it's called Pungeon Quest. And it's a pun-packed Land of M or Eam adventure. I'm not sure which one. So Pungeon Quest is a system-neutral dungeon that you run around, and it looks like it has some extra little things unique to it. But you could use it with kind of any system is what it looks like. And it's just full of stupid puns, and it makes me so funny. Like, there's a great sword that is a giant cheese grater. And there's a joke here where it's like you find a bastard sword and it's this sword in the corner and he goes, "Are you my dad?" And like, I was just like, I love it. This is exactly made for me. I'm very excited for it. So I backed it instantly. But what is interesting is it is set in the land of Eam or M. I think it's Eam now that I am saying it out loud.
I'm thinking meme is the land of meme.
But the land of Eam is this comic book that I had on the screen, if you guys were watching earlier, Rickety Stitch. And I read this digitally, and then I decided to pick it up because I think I'm going to give this to my nephew because he would really like it. And so I wanted I wanted to have a physical copy. And I haven't read part 2, but part 2 is coming in the mail today or tomorrow, and I'm excited for that. But this is a fantasy-inspired world that is just a fun, humorous comic, and there's lots of really cool art, and it's really good. I liked it. It's probably for kids. I would know it's 100% for kids, but it's one of those stories that's kind of just fun and timeless, and so it's like, no, anyone can really enjoy this, and so I really enjoyed it. The creators of this are making a tabletop RPG based on this world that they've created, and that is that is the land of M. So if you go to ricketystitch.com/RPG, they're doing the Land of Eam fantasy RPG, and right now it's in beta. But it's the same artist, so it looks really, really cool. But they have, so it's in beta. You can go to the website, and from there they have a free link to the beta rules, and you can download them from Drive-Thru RPG completely free and try them out and see if you like them. And it looks fun. Like, it looks really fun. The art's really silly, and your character classes are the Bard, the Loyal Chum, the Gnome, the Rascal, the Dungeoneer. It looks really fun, and it's a D12 system that kind of looks like Monster of the Week, but instead of rolling 2d6, you just roll a d12. And on a 6 to 8, there's a success with a twist. On a 12, you're a complete success. On a 1 to 2, you're a complete failure, and things like that. So,
you're a complete failure.
You are a complete failure.
I don't think that's how that works.
But somebody in the Discord, Skull Dixon, I think, said that he pointed us to this, and then I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. And I perused the rules, and I was like, that's fun. And then I read the comic, and I'm like, well, that's a lot of fun. And then this Pungeon Kickstarter came out, and I'm like, this is really fun. So
the only thing I think you would like better than Pungeon would be the dad joke ungen.
Oh, yeah. Which is, they're similar. They're probably next door to each other, in all honesty.
Really? Yeah. They have connecting hallway for sure.
That's fun. So check out. I should put a link in there for the Pungeon Quest.
Yeah, check that out.
But the video is just hilarious because it's this guy. I'll put a link for the comic too. Hang on.
Put it all in there. Lex should add us to his playtester group for his TTRPG.
So I've been asked to play test it once so far, but unfortunately I was busy. So I think we're going to reschedule. But if you're actually interested, I'll put you in communication, and we can definitely do that. His is the fantasy. What is it called? So there was a.
There's one called Fantasy Age.
No, it's Troika's based on it. The RPG Troika, but fantasy something. I'll think of it in like 10 minutes, I'm sure. But it's what it was a choose your own adventure book that you would read the novel and like occasionally roll dice to see what happened and then flip to the right page. Mm-hmm. And that system got a little. It grew because it was like popular, and so they took that system and they made like more solidified rules for it, so you didn't need a story to read through. You could like play your own story. And then Troika took that and hacked it and made it their own thing. So his version is going back to that original game, and he's hacking it again. And if you go to Dank Dungeons, if you go to his Twitter, but his YouTube channel, he released a bunch of videos that were little like 2-minute segments on here's this game and how I would hack it and why it's cool and why I think I want to like change it up. So, but yeah, he's working on it. He's got a really cool artist. We should have Lex back on. Fantasy Kafka, yeah.
Talk about his game.
Where all your dreams come true. Yeah. Fantasy Costco. I was looking for a link to the comic, which I have just found, and I will put in chat.
Did you just say Fantasy Costco? Could you imagine what a store like that would be?
You haven't listened to the Adventure Zone. You need to listen to the Adventure Zone. That's their whole shtick. Is after an adventure, they go home and they go to Fantasy Costco and they spend their money to like buy new magical stuff. And it's,
oh my god, that's
and he makes a jingle. It's so good. The Adventure Zone. Listen to it. It's a very, very good show.
As you can tell, we love everything. So
yeah, we do. Last but not least in the news, there's a show called, I think it's Avatar. I've never. It's like something about a bender
a movie,
of the
right?
wind.
There's a big movie.
Yeah. Oh, that M. Night Shyamalan movie. Oh yeah. That was okay. So that they're making an RPG based on that M. Night Shyamalan movie, the Wind Bender.
Yeah.
And so that should be really cool.
Avatar.
So Avatar, The Last Airbender, Magpie Games, which you really like. Do you want to talk about Magpie Games?
I love that company. Yeah. They make some of the best games ever. They're a really fun company. All the people I've met there have been fantastic. Got to talk to a lot of them. And they acquired the rights to Avatar. Do you say Avatar or do you say Avatar?
I say Avatar.
Avatar. We'll go with your pronunciation. Avatar: The Last Airbender TTRPG is coming. So they have permission to work on that and bring that to light as a product. And I love it because they work with a lot of the Apocalypse Engine kind of stuff. I haven't heard what engine they will do, if it will be one they create or if it will be a Apocalypse Engine style game. But they've done A New Generation. They've done Urban Shadows was another really good one from them. They've done some vampire ones. They've done Bluebeard's Brides. They've done, which is kind of like a romance RPG one. Mm-hmm. They really spread the whole RPG genre out to lots of different places that almost like an indie producer feel, but they're professionals. They're pros. They're not just, and their booths are cool at Gen Con, and they run games all week long at the conventions, and they let people come in and be dungeon masters, and they set up tables so people can play, and it's just a really good time. So I'm excited. I have seen the animated movie on Netflix, I am sure. I don't know if I've gone through the entire series, although I think I still can on either Netflix or Hulu. I'll have one of it, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So I'll probably go back through and watch it. I like the world. I assume you're a bigger fan probably than I have been, but is this one of the animated shows you had watched?
No, I know of it.
Good for Jordan.
I watched. So I have a sad story about Avatar because I was home from college. I think.
Sad story time.
Sad story. Everybody. I'm gonna. Oh, I don't.
Get a little closer.
I don't want to, but I need to put in that like sad music. Jordan walking away, hitchhiking the Hulk or whatever. Bruce Banner. So no, I was home from college and my parents had moved. So all of my like high school friends were non-existent because I was now 2 states away. So I didn't know anybody. And I was like working as a lifeguard and I'd come home and I'm tired because of the sun. And I would like turn on the TV and there was this cool animated show. And I'm like, what is this? This looks kind of cool. It was the last episode of Avatar that I watched. That was the first episode I saw was the last episode. And I was like, this looks epic. Like, what is happening? People are flying? What? And then
off the air.
Well, no, it wasn't off the air. Like it restarted, but it never lived up to that epic fight at the end where I was just like, I guess so. I don't know. So I watched a little bit of it. I haven't watched a lot. I do like the world and I think the characters are really good. And it is a very beloved series. I should start from the beginning and just really enjoy it, but I have a lot of reading and other stuff to do. And then, Legend of Korra was the sequel and I hear that is equally good. But I like the idea of the 4 elements, obviously. Like I've always enjoyed stuff like that. And I think that's my Final Fantasy upbringing where you have like the crystal of air, the crystal of earth and things like that. So the idea that you have these creatures, you have these humans who are parts of gifted with magic and they've banded together because of that. And and their lifestyle really reflects the element that they are, which is why the Fire Nation attacked and things like that. We make lots of fun jokes about like whenever something bad happens, we'd be like, yeah, everything was fine. And then the Fire Nation attacked. It was just sad. But it looks cool. I wonder what kind of system it's going to be. And I wonder if people are going to fight like, well, I want to be the Avatar. Well, I want to be the Avatar. And like, well, you all can't be the Avatar. So I wonder what it's going to be, or if it'll be really. They'll probably do it justice because there's characters in the show that don't have powers, Yeah. And they're equally fun. And going back to Monster of the Week, it's kind of like your character in Monster of the Week where it is just like, no, I'm just an average guy, but that can be very fun to play, So an average guy in D&D, not as much fun to play. But with the right system, it can be really interesting. So, that's slated for February 2022. And then they already announced that there's 2 expansions that are going to happen with the game. So the core game will come out in February next year. And then after that, 2 expansions dealing with whatever. Yeah, bloodbending.
I'm excited because they've always have been able to get really good artists for their games.
Magpie,
So I'm excited to see what they do with this and where they take it. I'm glad.
I wonder if they can use official art like from the show and stuff because of the license.
That'd be really cool.
But,
and I'm glad that I see a lot of these. Like Modifius is really big about grabbing licenses out there because like they got Aliens, they grabbed Conan, they grabbed John Carter of Mars, and they've got Star Trek. And I love the idea that these other nice big publishing companies are pulling out these nostalgic, awesome IPs and saying, hey, let's make a TTRPG game about it so that we can play in these things. We could play a Farscape game, or we could play any of these old versions of cool shows, Voltron,
and I feel like back in the day, the push was to make a system neutral fantasy setting so that you could then play in whatever. So like I want to play in a Star Wars game, but they don't have those, so I'm going to buy this space system. How do you feel? Do you like it when a system is married to a genre, or not a genre, but like an intellectual property, I guess? Like when you want to play a Star Wars game, do you go out and find Space Opera 7 and then make it Star Wars, or do you invest in Star Wars? Like how do you like to, which do you prefer?
I think it goes up and down. So I think there'll be a span of years where I'm just buying licensed IP stuff that is creating within the IP itself. So like it's a Star Wars game, I'll go find a Star Wars game. If I'll play Star Trek, I'll go find a Star Trek game. But I think there's a point where I've done enough of that, and then I'll be for another 5 or 6 years, I'll want a system neutral. So I want something that can play anything. I want a cipher system. I want a D20 system that's completely neutral but can play anything. And I'll play around with that for a while, but then I'll go back to the license stuff again. And I think the differences are, you can make an engine work for just about anything. You can make 5e work for anything. I've seen 5e science fiction. I've seen 5e fantasy games. I've seen 5e OSR. So you could make any system work. But when you have the book in front of you with all of the artwork that's relevant to what you're about to start running for your friends, and it has
all the
they've
lore
thought about it from classes are, here's the Jedi, here is, the Padawan, here is the, whatever, if you're going to go Star Wars, or if it's Star Trek, here's the the communications officer, here's the engineering officer, here's the security officer. And they're really putting in mechanics that are relevant to the world you're going to be playing. I think sometimes that's fun just to jump in, get your friends together, and get rolling. You don't have to think about how you're going to convert everything, and you don't have to think about how you're going to make the classes work when everything's so generic. And there's more explaining for you to do as a dungeon master, game master to your players when the system's more generic. So they lean on you more to understand the rule set, but it'll work. Whereas I think if you just pop open, hey, we're going to play Star Wars from Fantasy Flight, you can hand them a book and they can all, I understand what I'm doing.
I'm a smuggler. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's roll with it.
I agree. It's weird though, because sometimes, overall, I would say that I really enjoy system neutral thing. I just like a good tool set that I can do what I want with it, and I think Monster of the Week or just Powered by the Apocalypse in general is a good thing, because you have like Dungeon World and you have Monster of the Week, which are very different games that use a very similar system. And then there's games like I guess games that do a feel. So Mothership very much had a alien feel. And then, Modifius pops out this Alien game, and you're like, that looks really, really cool. I haven't finished reading Alien to see if I would like but I haven't played either. I've only read through Mothership, but I still am like, no, I think Mothership would be really cool. But with the Alien system, there's a whole mechanic to being a synthetic, and your goal is to not let people know that you're a synthetic. And that isn't necessarily found in Mothership. So you could play an alien style game with Mothership, but like if you really wanted that alien feel, you're right. And the world's a lot bigger with those books, like you were saying.
And their expansion's coming. You can pre-order now. The Colonial Space Marines is coming, and I'm super excited for that too.
So I don't know. And then even this Rickety Stitch, like you could play this with a modified version of D&D, or I was looking at a game called Ryutama yesterday that was really cool, and was understanding the rule set of that because it looked really interesting. And I'm like, you could play Rickety Stitch with this really easy, Land of Eam. But they went ahead and they're like, we want to make our own system.
Yeah. Okay. I think the other thing you get is just the artwork.
Yeah.
Also, you get to flip through a book that's dedicated to the art of the IP that you're about to do. Whereas a system neutral, you can go find all that stuff and it can be in your head and you can be thinking about it and you can be like, oh yeah, I could do this. But when you're flipping through those pages and you have really cool rendered drawings of the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, come on.
Yeah.
I want that book. So I think that's a little bit of both. I want both. There's reasons I want both, and there's reasons why I think both are great. And there's reasons that I keep filling my shelves with all kinds of games that I never have enough time to play because I just love looking at them and reading through them and getting excited about your mind thinking about these worlds that you could be playing in if you get your group together and you could be having your own adventures there. So
for sure.
Very fun.
Awesome possum. Well, now about
nice term.
Huh?
Nice term.
Yeah.
I think I heard that on a commercial recently.
Awesome. I'm full of 1930s slang.
Nice.
Let's go to I have to set this up, but let's hop over to College of Monsters. This is our new segment, College of Monsters, where we come up with some kind of an adventure or talk about monsters. We haven't really we're feeling it out,
I like the idea that we talk about what we think normally about it, but also trying to think of how can we think out of the box with this thing.
Yeah.
Like come up with some out of the box thinking for something that we all have kind of an idea.
All right. I think here's our number. We got 172. Let's check this out.
172.
Ooh, this is a good one. A grell.
I like growls.
Grell. That is I used to grell once in a game. Let me look it up.
I grell every summer.
Every summer he's a greller. Grell. Okay, so we're going to go here, and then I will get rid of this. This is also tricky, because I don't have the monster up earlier.
Because we're doing it live.
Yeah, it's live, guys. Here we go. Hey, all right. So, grell. So, what is a grell, for those of us who don't know?
Yeah, tell us.
A grell resembles a bulbous floating brain with a wide, sharp beak. Its 10 long tentacles are made of hundreds of ring-shaped muscles sheathed in tough, fibrous hide, and sharp barbs line the tip of each tentacle and inject paralytic venom. The grell can partially retract its barbs into its tentacles to handle or manipulate objects. Grells have no eyes and floats by means of a sort of levitation. They have keen hearing, and they are sensitive to vibrations and electrical fields. Ooh. They're an aberration. They're evil. And they are CR3, with basically like a tentacle paralyzing grasp, a beak attack, and they can fly 30 feet. Okay, they have a speed of 10, but they can fly 30. So
makes sense.
CR3. So this is going to be a lower level, kind of creature boss. And instantly, I'm thinking of probably rips in to the Far Realm or something. I've been doing all these Elder Evil things, Far Realm stuff lately, so that's kind of what's on my mind.
That fits
so this
that
is
kind
good.
of theme for sure.
But yeah, so I don't know. Or is this now I'm spitballing? What if this is an experiment by somebody? And
it's like an aberration.
Yeah, right? And so you're like, I'm gonna take a squid, a parrot, and my friend Stan,
and a giant brain.
and we're gonna make a grell. Have you ever fought one of these or used one of them?
Yeah, I've used them in my campaign. They're very fun. I like to use them when the characters are right around the parties at that second or third level, which makes it kind of perfect. I like the idea that you can use them in a spot where they don't have a lot of good visibility, and they have the ability. I like to use them as an ambush.
They are ambushers. Yeah, that's what it says here.
So that's probably the typical way, and I would probably use it. And that's how I've seen them used so far, and that's how I.
Wouldn't that be fun though if you were exploring a dungeon and then it's like, "Where's Sam?" and you look behind and like he's not there, and so you backtrack and he's like paralyzed with a grell and like floating up into the air or something.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we played a game where we were playing at the table, and one of our players had to get up because of a phone call or something, and nobody thought anything of it. It was just like, okay. And then they were gone for quite a while, and so then I was like, "You guys, you don't see so and so's character," and they totally bought in, and they're just like, "You're right. Where is that character?" And so it was one of this panic moment where they had to find out what happened, and then we worked it into the story. But
yeah,
these are not to be confused with gricks, Nathan. Never confuse a grell and a grick.
How dare you, Nathan?
They get offended by that. It's like Kiwi and Aussie. You don't do that.
Yeah.
But no, I like the idea of. I guess I'm thinking of an old RPG podcast that I listened to where there were little like pockets of Far Realm bleeding into the Prime Material plane. Yeah. And so you would be walking down a nice garden path and there would be like tentacles coming out of a tree because it's like, what is happening here? And it's not that there are tentacles in the Far Realm. It's that when Far Realm substances push into our realm, it has to like reconfigure to a way that we can understand it because physics is different here, and it turns into these weird creatures. So I like that. Like, what if there's just like a little blob that comes out, and then you're trying to understand it, but the more you're trying to understand it, the more it takes shape into this weird beak-like brain floating thing. So
I would like this creature in a very I could see a really fun scene for a campaign with this too, where Maybe you have a mind flayer type boss, and these are some of the troops it uses to attack a town or to go and grab the things it needs from whatever village that the players are at or protecting or whatever. And the other thing that makes it fun is that there's a big fog going on, or there's a storm of some sort that's limiting visibility down. So what you're seeing is people are running around screaming in terror, and then all of a sudden it's just like some tentacles grab somebody and bring them up, and then they're gone into the snow or into the rainstorm or into the fog all of a sudden.
Would you say into the mist?
Into the mist,
exactly like the movie The Mist.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Sure.
Actually, that would be a really fun campaign to do something like that, where you're like, we don't know what's going on. Going outside is dangerous, but staying in here is not an option either. Yeah. So I love situations like that for characters, because it feels like a no-win situation where your players are like, I don't know what to do. And then they have a 40-minute conversation about, should we leave the bunker? And you're like, you're running out of food. Like, what are you going to do?
What about supersizing it, too? What about having a giganticized one of these?
Yeah, because this is a medium creature, but you could easily make it huge. Up it. That would be fun.
Yeah, you could make it a CR 8 or 9 or 10 by just going gigantic with it. Like it's the size of a kraken or something all of a sudden. And
I like it.
Can fly, can move around. I like that. Could be used. I think I would use these type of creatures in a Spelljammer. I think this would fit really well in some type of Spelljammer attack. I like the idea of a big giant monster fighting a Godzilla-like creature that this thing is.
Now that I'm looking at it, the Matrix, where those Sentinels, what if you had a Mind Flayer ship that had torpedo tubes? And it fired out these gricks. See, I'm doing it now. These grells, and so the grells are like, and then they like, and fly in with their tentacles. Laser. Oh, their beaks chomping through the hull to get to you. You have to cast some kind of psychic EMP to get rid of them.
The Nebuchadnezzar. This is so good, and they're a big brain, so it makes sense a big EMP might affect them.
Oh yeah.
Might scramble their big brain.
Spelljammer.
What if you want to go really comedic route and you have one of these as an NPC named Bob, and he can talk, and he just follows your career around for, Act Inc., and he's like the straight guy kind of for your party. Like all your party is like crazy fantasy people, and then you have, your Grell as your straight is Bob Smith.
I like it.
And he puts a hat on every now and then. He wears a trench coat when he cruises around.
Oh, that would be so funny. I'm actually a Grell in a trench coat the whole time.
Yeah.
So this is off topic, but like we've been joking about, guys, I'm sorry, I've actually been 3 kobolds in a trench coat the whole time. And I'm trying to think, like, could I build a character in D&D 5e that actually is 3 kobolds in a trench coat? I want to do this so
that has
bad.
An illusion on them.
And then cast an illusion. And I'm trying to think, like, would I split the HP between all 3 of them? Or, like, that would be such a fun race to play, is literally 3 kobolds in a trench coat. Gosh, I want to play that so bad. That was fun. That's a good one. Grell. Lots of things. Yeah. Rick is right next to it. There. Very different monster. Very different.
Yeah. So I feel like the first time I saw a Grell might have been in like Fiend Folio, maybe. I wonder where the first sighting of it was.
Oh, I don't know.
Because I know I've seen that the art for those is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
And feels very D&D dungeony to me. Like you're going to come across it in a dungeon somewhere. So yeah, I've always liked that one. I've always been a big fan of the Grell.
That would be big fan of the Grell. First edition.
Big Grell fan.
Grell. Second edition, yeah. All I can see is pictures of them, but
yeah, I'll have to go back and look to see if it was in the Fiend Folio or not, because that's usually the most iconic ones that have sat with me for the longest amount of years. Is flipping through the old Fiend Folio and looking at all those crazy drawings that they had of those creatures, and it's just like, oh, this is so good. So, College of Monsters, you guys should tell us how you would use Grell, how you have used Grell. What are your thinking outside the box uses of it? How would you, what is something that,
it was the Fiend Folio, 1981. Good job, sir.
Yeah.
You know your D&D.
Love it.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below how you would use a Grell, because that'd be really fun. We occasionally play games on this show podcast. Apparently there's a Dungeon of the Mad Mage happening.
Yeah.
Tell us about your dungeon diving, sir. Are you this is, when are you going to be done? Is this going to be like 4 years?
level 4, dude.
Oh man,
and I don't even know
of
how
like
long this has been
27.
going.
How many levels are
And
there?
we're halfway through level 4. So yeah, like who knows how many there are. I don't know how big. I think at certain parts the levels aren't quite as big. It's my understanding that the upper levels are bigger and wider and spread out, whereas maybe the further you go down, it changes. But we're about 4th level down. We did find the way down to the 5th level, but we're still mapping out parts of the 4th level. We ran into
23 layers. This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
You're never going to
get
done.
Get crazy. yeah. I don't know how we're going to do it. It's gonna
Maybe
be
they get smaller
campaign.
as you go down. I haven't read it yet.
Or we'll speed through it at some point. But it's been pretty fun. It's definitely been so far, if there's been a theme, it's been us butting heads with Xanathar and his group, or butting heads with Drow in their faction. That's been the real big theme thus far of all of the kind of levels that we've been. And there's little things here and there that aren't that or don't have anything to do with that. But just like an overall theme, if you're just like, what kind of adventure I'm going to be running? We've ran into Drow quite a bit, and we've ran into Xanathar's stuff quite a bit so far. So I'm waiting to get down to those lower levels where it really starts to get completely fantastical and really crazy, because Halistar starts, it's all about, the dungeon of the Mad Mage. Yeah. I assume it's going to start getting more mad and mad and mad. Just like we had the old Temple of Elemental Evil, those first levels were pretty mundane dungeon levels, but the farther you got, you finally got to the level that was for the fire elemental, and then you got the level that was the water element, and it started to get really fantastical. So I'm hoping for that.
Did you know that Goodman Games is redoing Temple of Elemental Evil for 5th edition?
I didn't. When's that coming out? Because I want that immediately.
Coming out, I think it's this summer, but they're working on it right now. But
I'll buy it.
It was and it was like anyway, I want to buy it too, but it's going to be expensive because they're doing like everything, and apparently it's going to be a 2-book volume. Yes. Because you get the original adventure plus the 5th edition update, and I think it's going to be close to like $80 or $100, which is kind of expensive. But it's such an iconic thing. Sorry, tangent.
I will run it. That's the one adventure I wanted to run all my life.
Oh man, that'd be good.
Temple of Elemental Evil. It's my favorite of all times.
Some Tharsden vibes in that one.
So that's been pretty good. I'm still loving my character. My character in that is an Aarakocra arcane archer fighter who has just now started to get a few cleric levels in, and that's been super fun. And my character is like John Wick on steroids at this point, with his longbow and sharpshooter and all the feats I've taken to get going. It's really fun.
Very fun
to play. Other than that, we played Wednesday night, back-to-back session, Monster of the Week. I'll jump in as you describe yours, because you let me go last week, so I'll let you jump into yours, and when you get to Monster of the Week, I'll fill in stuff as from
let's talk about
both playing.
Let's talk about we're both playing. This is LB Hack'em-Up's Monster of the Week game on her channel, twitch.tv/LB Hack'em-Up.
Well, I didn't know how much you wanted to take up for your Wild Mountain.
No, we're good. We'll talk about this. And then I'll switch over. So, but it's fun. I'm playing a divine. You're playing a
mundane.
A mundane. I was going to say a normal, but
Peter Delaney.
And basically, I'm like a homeless guy that follows some odd Slavic god who's here to stop some kind of evil, but doesn't really know what's going on. You're just kind of thrown in like, oh, these guys are cool, and like my boss was a vampire. Now I hang out with them.
I'm an Amazon driver. And you were like, in my mind, you look like Constantine.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel.
But you talk like somebody else, which is what makes the character, because it's a mashup of two things for the character. I'm trying to think of who else does that kind of cadence with their vocabulary when they're talking. I don't know where you got it, but it's super funny. And it makes the session we're all rolling.
It's really, I'm having a lot of fun with that character.
But it's very bombastic. It's very... very interesting to have somebody who's barely understands technologies in some ways, but then is using it to do other things. And we throw that in there a little bit. He's got a whole side plot going on. The characters are what's making the story so far, because they're so varied and different, and people are really getting into them, and I love it.
Yeah,
I just love it.
And we have a dryad who's the monstrosity is what her, but she's a good dryad that's got magic and stuff helping us out, and then a para-romantic.
romantic.
Yeah. Which is that's from I haven't read about that one because that wasn't an expansion that he wanted to play or they wanted to play, so that's what they were playing.
Like a supernatural with a love connection of some sort. Val.
But no, it's been really fun. We uncovered that there is an entity living in the lake, and the way we're going with it is that it might be evil, or it might have been mutated or changed because of something somebody did in the town that was like evil or bad in a way.
Yeah, we're starting to think that something's happened to the lake.
Yeah, something to do with the paper mill. And I went to the library to look at like old newspapers and stuff, microfilm, very exciting, and found out a bunch of stuff about that, which LB's discussion on how microfilm works, I'm like, you don't even know what this looks like.
That was what I loved, is you bring up this idea that our dungeon master, who is younger than me and Jordan, probably significantly, had no idea what you were even trying to talk about.
It was so funny. And I'm just like, I don't know, it's microfilm. Like, and I was making jokes about spies in the 1980s and stuff, but like it's a transparency about yay big, but it has so much stuff on it. You have to magnify it. But the way LB was describing it was, okay, you have like a flashlight and you shine it, and I'm like, I wouldn't be able to see anything. Like you have to put it in the machine very specifically.
We have to send her some X-Files shows.
Like, oh my gosh, I should find a GIF and be like, this is microfilm. Yeah. But it was fun. So anyway, we found out that there's something there, and then my deity talked to me and said, like, you need to take care of this monster. Like, this is bad news. And I was like, oh. So it should be cool. It's weird because it's all about solving the mystery, and there's very little combat, if any. But we're having so much fun. And the mechanics of it at the very end I really like, because at the end of every session we talk about like, what did we accomplish? And based on that conversation, and based on that conversation, we get experience points, and then you can use experience points to buy new abilities, not necessarily like level up, but you get new abilities with it. It's really fun. Yeah. So, yes, Stephen Thomas, microfilm is very old, much like us.
And I think what makes it is the characters. It's a very character-driven game.
Yeah.
Whereas you might say D&D is a very mechanics-driven game. There is RP, and I know. You can watch
this is a whole
Role,
fight
there's
that
plenty
we can go
of
back and forth on. Yeah,
but yeah, I would say 90% of the D&D games that are out there are about fighting monsters and combat and getting XP and gaining gold. And you have mechanics. You can move 30 feet. You can shoot 60. You can do these things. It's mechanics driven. This is really more about just character and discussion driven, exploratory discussions with the players around you, and then the game master who's playing all the other players of the town, or whatever's going on. And so it feels very collaborative, like you have a lot of freedom to help create in the moment. And the dungeon master really, or the game master, or the keeper in this case, I think it's called keeper, allows or encourages you also to create. So the town is what she kind of started with, was like a framework of Lake Doberg, but we've all kind of put in things that she didn't even have in her mind, but now are canon part of the town. Yeah. Like somebody put in the drive-in theater, and I'm the Amazon driver who knows where all the streets and towns and knows everybody's first name. And the family of the Delaney's are just a delight. They're fun, energetic characters to put into. We are all at a movie theater, and that was fun. And just the way the whole thing has gone so far, it's been really fun. I could see it as like a Netflix show.
Honestly, that's why I love Kids on Bikes, is because the first session of Kids on Bikes is let's build characters, and then how do all these characters know each other, and where do you want to adventure?
Let's build what's the city?
And then you as the dungeon master in that game literally ask the players, like, what's a significant icon in the town? Like, what's a statue or what's a building that has historical significance? Why? And then to the point where you even like make up 2 lies and 1 truth about this, but like nobody really knows like which is the lie and which is the truth. It's really fun. And I love that style of role playing. And I also think it makes for interesting listening too. Like I don't think I listen to as many people play straight D&D anymore, but I really like these offshoot story driven ones. So,
and you're always looking for a way to help and enhance or encourage somebody's idea. So like I'll be sitting there like I didn't do hardly anything in session 2. Like if you go back and watch it, there was hardly any Peter. And she's typing to me in chat. She's like, "Oh, Lucian, I'll get to you soon. I'll get to you soon." Because she was kind of like worried. I'm like, I'm having a blast just being here. We could go the whole session and I don't have to do anything and I'm fine. Because it was just so fun because we were adding things in as people were talking about something. You know, they're like, "Oh, it's this creature that does this thing and it has these things." And somebody might say, you know, like, and the horse was a whole thing. And we're like, all of a sudden somebody has a horse and how do they get around? And and there's like we'll show up at Peter's house and he'll have he'll make dinner and they're like, shouldn't we call him? And you're like, no, we'll just show up. We'll just get there. You know, no, he always feeds me dinner when I go there. It's just like those interactions. You're making a real world conversation by conversation, sentence by sentence, and it's growing in your head. In my mind, I can see this place. I can see like Doberg. You know, I can see some of these fun scenes that we've already done. So creatively, it's super fun. Yeah, I've been having a lot more. I shouldn't say this in a negative way, but a lot more fun than I was expecting because it's a new system and I don't know. But like, I knew that I would have fun with all of the fun people. But I'm like looking forward to Wednesdays. Like it's really fun. It's been good. Other than that, we're finishing our Wildmount game. Joshua, yes. And so I think I didn't talk about it last week because we had guest Harlan on. But basically 2 weeks ago, we tried to stop the big bad evil guy. He teleported away. We ransacked his area and we found a scroll of wish. And this was like, holy cow. That's big. So, we then met with, someone named the Gentleman, who's part of Critical Role lore. And he said, I can make you an anti-magic weapon, but you have to go and get me an Astral Dreadnought's eye. And we're like, okay. And so Jordan knew this, and we kind of incorporated that Joshua knew this, that if we put... Fantasy Costco. Yeah. Oh, sorry. If we put a bag of holding in an extra dimensional space, it'll tear to the astral plane and pull us there. So that's how we got to the astral plane, as I sacrificed my bag of holding, which I was very sad about. And once there, the Gentleman gave us a compass to find an Astral Dreadnought. We ended up finding one, but we were really scared to fight it because it has a singular eye that is an anti-magic cone. And we're like, what are we going to do? And it's named Dreadnought. And it's named Dreadnought. It's a very large creature. So we had this epic fight. I ended up using my Scroll of Wish to wish for its eye to be on the deck of our ship. And it came barreling down from the sky and landed on our ship. Connected to the bottom. And so our ship was sinking, and we're like, So we're trying to get away from this blind Astral Dreadnought that's chasing us. And we're sailing away. I ended up using Control Water to lift our boat out of the water and propel us forward so that we wouldn't sink. So, like, my job is just, like, get the ship going. And they're trying to, like, huck things at it. And the poor rogue is like, do I jump on it and attack? And we're like, I don't know. Like, you shouldn't die. The monk was the same way. Like, what do I do in this situation? But this is the coolest thing, is I created a new spell a while ago called Joshua's Conjured Weapon. And I think of it as... in the movie Doctor Strange, they have those guys that go like, and they've got that like blade of force. So I conjure this blade. I have the ability of flight because of a magic ring. And so I fly on the back of it and I'm just like, yak, yak. And I got the killing blow, which was really, really exciting. As a wizard. As a wizard with a magic sword, I got the killing blow. And so I posted on Twitter that I'm like, I just killed an Astral Dreadnought with a magic weapon, or with a spell that I created custom for the game. I love D&D. It was epic and fun. So we go back. They use the eye to turn it into a magical item. So now we have like a rod of anti-magic cone. And now we're going to find our big bad evil guy and we're going to take him out. Because he can't teleport away if he's under the effects of this magical anti-magic cone. So we'll see how it works. That's right. So Mr. Dungeon Master out there, he can't escape this time. So. We'll see. He might have a fancy shield that reflects anti-magic cones. Who knows? Yeah. There's always something, right? He counterspells your anti-magic cone. But after that, we decided that once we finish the game of D&D, we're going to transition into some other RPGs. And so specifically, just like a couple of 1 or 2 shots, kind of like try other systems is what my Dungeon Master wanted to do. And I was like all about it.
And so we're going to start off with some Kids on Brooms. So I'm going to run Kids on Brooms this, I think we're going to build characters tonight, and then next week we'll actually play a game. So I got to come up with some kind of a plot, but I think the character building process tonight will help me know what kind of adventure we should have.
What do you mean? They're kids that are going to their first year of magic wizarding school.
There you go. It's done. All right. Lucian's running the game.
Perfect.
Should be a lot of fun. But
they're first years. They're freshmen.
I'll have more info on that next week.
Very fun.
That is our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for staying with us to the very end, for liking, commenting, sharing this show with your friends. That is the best way to help the show grow. You can either listen to us here or on anchor.fm, where there's a horn. Or on anchor.fm, which is where our podcast is hosted, and the episodes come out every Monday at 8 a.m. So share. Tell people about it. Rate us on iTunes and all that other stuff. I think Anchor was just bought by Spotify, so probably a Spotify podcast review is the best way to help the show grow, if you feel so inclined. Links to things we talked about are in the YouTube description and in the description of the podcast. Anything else before we take off, Lucian, with your horn? No? No, he's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.